So I was really interested in talking about this subject because I find it very close to my heart about networking. You go through phases and that's okay, but it's how you sort of deal with it and how you sort of come across to people as well. So to start off with, sweet, the remote works. So what I would like you to sort of get from tonight is identifying who your top 5 are. So there's that saying that you surround yourself by your top 5. A lot of this stuff you've probably heard before, but the way we're going to look at it is a little bit different. So who is your trusted 5? Okay, it's just a rhetorical question. Who do you call on when you need help? So that's what we're going to sort of aim towards. Then we're going to learn some little practical activities, which yes, that means you have to talk to other people, unfortunately, to get to some meaningful conversations. Then we're going to be practicing those skills and sort of reflecting on them as well. So it's a little bit of opening up your own vulnerabilities and being able to look at yourself and potentially growing from discomfort. The reason that I thought I would start with this is because of where I came from. So I'll give you a little bit of a rundown about me. My business is Imperium Corporate Services. It is a bookkeeping, BAS agent, HR, pretty much everything behind the scenes to help someone with their business so that you guys can focus on what you do best and then we can help you with everything else. And when I moved down to the coast in 2015-16, I was already working in a business with my brother and my ex-husband, and it was an open cut mining business. So my role was everything behind the scenes. So I just sort of stayed in the office and didn't really do much talking except if with my girls or with the guys that on site. The boys did all the work out the front, getting the clients. We didn't really need to sell a product or a service. It was pretty much there. So when I moved to the coast and then that business closed, I was a little bit stuck and I didn't really know what to do. So I went back to teaching and I was teaching going, this isn't exactly what I want to do. What can I do that I actually love? And I like to help people. So I didn't just want to be a bookkeeper, didn't just want to do HR. So I combined the two, which isn't really known to be that wherever we are on the coast. And then to get your name out there, what do you have to do on the coast? You have to go out networking and you have to go out and meet people. And it was pretty new to me. So I found it really hard because I could talk all day to someone about something else. You go on holiday, you can meet someone, you have a chat and you move on. But when it's about your business, it's about you. And my product was my service, which was me at the end of the day. I wasn't just selling an item or I wasn't selling 50 TVs a day. It was my service, my reputation, and my advice. So I didn't really like the 60-second elevator pitch, that you had to sort of go around and go, okay, what do you do? Oh, cool, okay. What do you do? Oh, great. Get your card, let's make a connection. That's not me. To me, I feel that that's, it's good. You get to know people on this sort of shallow, but you don't actually get to really know the person. And to me, I like to have connections with people. I would rather build a relationship with someone, and even if it takes a couple of years, then one day they might go, oh, you know what? I remember talking to such and such, and she actually has some really good points. So I might give her a call and see what she's doing and see if she can help me out. That's the sort of relationship that I would prefer, that it's genuine, that it may take a while to foster, to grow, whatever, that you may have to come to a few different networking events, and then you start to build that relationship, which I think then becomes your trusted 5. You start to sort of navigate towards the people that you really want to navigate with, or that you resonate with, or your values, and then those are the people that you then hang around. And ultimately, they probably become your friends as well. So who here has sort of had that feeling of having to start from fresh and do all this stuff and just feel very overwhelmed? Yes? Excellent. I'm glad it's not just me. So tonight we're going to go through a few different little things that we can sort of do, which I feel delves more into yourself as well. So you're not just going out there and meeting someone and putting your hat in the drawer and, you know, such and such has won this and this is what they do, go meet them. It's about then getting to know the person next to you. We're all nervous and we all feel, you know, different feelings when we come to these events. And we need to accept that and understand that that's okay, you know, and it's about being able to break through our own little worries and concerns to continue to grow. So hopefully this is what we'll take away from tonight. So your trusted 5. I've just put up a few examples here. It could be very different for who your trusted 5 is. So you may have a mentor, someone that you've worked with, someone that you know who's been in business for 10, 20 years that you would go to for advice. It could be someone in finance, so you might have a banker that you've known forever, or someone that you've struck up a relationship with in these networking events that you trust what they say. So it's about thinking about who's going to be there for you, but not always in the easy way. You know, some people might have friends or family that just agree with whatever you say you should do. You're like, yep, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to set up a shop down in Sydney. Oh yeah, that sounds great, just do it. You know, just do it, which is fine. They love you and they want to support you. But do they challenge you? And do they make you think about what you're actually doing to help grow your business, your brand, and obviously profits at the end of the day? So sometimes you might need someone who's a little bit more challenging to sort of say, well, how's that going to help you? What are you going to achieve from that? How much is it going to cost you to do that, and what's your return? So you can go the easy path and just get a group of people who are going to cheer you on. You know, your mates who want to have beers with you on a Saturday and talk about everything, which is fine. Absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. But if you really want to grow and you really want to know you're going in the right direction, should you surround yourself with people that are on the same sort of pathway?
Sometimes a family and friend are the opposite. You know, you couldn't do that. You don't have the skills. What are you doing that's against your background and training? And they
Correct.
hold
Sorry,
you
what's your name?
down.
Derek. So Derek's just saying you could actually have the opposite effect of family or friends. You know, they might go, oh, don't do that. Why are you doing that for? You know, you should just stay in your own little box over here and keep doing what you're doing. So you then those sorts of thoughts come into your head, and then you have to try to deal with that as well as trying to pursue what you want to do. And as much as you would listen to people who love you and care for you, sometimes that's their issue that they have to deal with, not yours. You know, they might feel like that they're trying to warn you, but they could be very risk adverse. So therefore, are they really helping you? And you can still sit there and listen to them, but they might not be the person that you turn to if you want to ask a question or get further help. Does that sort of make sense? Yeah? All right, so now you have your little booklets. Just for a minute, I'd like you to write down who you might consider being your team, your crew, your tribe, whatever you want to call them. Who are your 5 sort of top people? And if you don't have 5, that's okay, because you can work on it. And it can be more than 5, you won't have 10. You might have 1, only 1 person you talk to. So you've got 1 minute to sort of think about who that is and write it down. Okay. How did we go? Did anyone get the full 5? That's okay. You got 4? Well done. That's awesome. This is always something in progress, and you know what? Those people may come and go throughout your life as well. So it may not always be a set 5. You will always have people coming into your life and people going and doing whatever they want, and that's totally fine. It's just you understanding and knowing who you could turn to if you really wanted someone, what they say here, to maybe help you see something in a new perspective. Because let's face it, we all have our own views on things and we all see things in our own way, and someone might actually give you an option that you'd never even thought about before. So just keep that in mind as we're going through. Now we're going to start to get to the nitty-gritty. We all know turning small talk into meaningful conversations. We've grown up with hearing about how we've got to talk more, how we've got to connect more. If anything, it's something that's being lost within the world because of the way technology is and AI is and everything's on apps and phones. And I don't know if you guys have kids, but you seem to have to text them to come down for dinner now instead of sort of having a conversation, you know. So we try to get them to come back to communication, and communication is key. You know, how do you talk to your clients? How do you talk to your family? How do you talk to your friends? Do you ask them how they would like to be spoken to? Do you ever ask your clients, would you prefer me to call you or text you? Are you ever going to read that email, or are you working till 10 o'clock at night? You're just not going to look at those emails. So how do you connect with people? And this is something that can be taken across every sort of relationship, friendship, work situation. It's not just a business thing. So to do all this, you know, we all talk. We all know how to talk. We all know how to have a conversation. But do we ask the right questions? Can we ask better questions when we're trying to get to know someone? Or is it always, oh, how's the weather going? Did you see that Trumpy's going to get in? You know?
Oh yeah!
That's right. Are you listening to the person who's talking to you? Are you being present when you are listening? You know, do you have your phone out, or are you someone who has to be fidgety all the time? Like, what do you do to bring yourself into this conversation? And to do that, that then creates a bit of a circle effect, which then should hopefully lead to connecting with someone a bit better and building rapport. And then that should then sort of bounce off each other as you go along. And by doing that, you are then nurturing your network. You are treating people the way that you would like to be treated. So when you go to an event, do you think of, how am I going to present today? How am I going to interact with people? Or do you really more care about how people are treating you? Is it all about me? You know, so it's a bit of give and take. This is the whole emotional intelligence idea of understanding yourself and understanding how others are, or trying to learn how others are, because everyone is different. So we're going to delve into this a little bit more. Seems simple enough. Ask better questions. But do we really? So, when you ask a question, are you clear and specific? So instead of just saying, how's work? You could say, what are you currently working on that you enjoy the most? It's a little bit more in depth, a little bit more intriguing. And you're asking open-ended questions. So do you like your job? Pretty much a yes or a no question. Versus what's inspired you to pursue this role that you're in now? Everyone chooses the job that they're in. They don't get told that that's where they're going to work. Someone applies for a job, someone gets offered a job, someone accepts a job, and then they do the work. Yet they seem to complain about their job. So it's a two-way street. You want to work for these people, so how do you have a conversation? Inquire about experiences and not facts. So have you faced any challenges recently? Versus what challenges have you faced yourself and how have you handled it? So it becomes a more personable question. Ask for stories. How was your weekend? Versus what was the best story from your weekend? And then get their opinion or perspective on something. So instead of stating your own opinion, like, yeah, Trump won, how awesome is that? You could turn it around and say, you know, I've been listening to a podcast on such and such about Trump. What's your opinion on that? So it's just changing the way that you might word questions to people so that it's about getting their information and understanding them that little bit more. So you have your booklet there. feel free to write down some of these questions if you feel like they can help you when you go to a situation. So we have the whole iceberg analogy. Sorry if I'm standing in front of you. Oh, you got it on the phone. Nice. So instead of just sort of saying the question, oh, what do you do? You know, you're doing your whole elevator pitch, what do you do? Or what brings you to this event? There are numerous sorts of questions here that you can ask people to sort of just go that little bit more deeper and start a real sort of conversation and get to know some different answers about that person. So what's a usual day for you at work? Do most of you know what your friends do all day at work? Do you know what entails running a catering business? Like, what's their day like? Do they start at 5 o'clock? Do they finish at midnight? Versus someone who is a coach. Do they get the luxury of maybe only working from 10 to 1 because their clients are all overseas? You know, so how does your friend, how is their normal work day? Have you ever asked? What's the biggest challenge in your role this year? There is so much changing in the scope of business, whether it's political, whether it's financial, whether it's industry changes. You know, how do you keep up with the changes within your industry? Those sorts of questions can create like an essay answer for some people, depending on what industry you're in. And instead of just saying what brings you to your event, you know, you could say what's one connection you're hoping to get from this event. So if you start to feel like you're lost for words sometimes, you know, some of these questions might help you expand, you know, what you want to say to someone. And it's just habit. So once you start using it, then you can potentially start rolling off your tongue, and all of a sudden you're just this person who creates conversation out of nothing. And like Seinfeld, you know, what was that show about? Nothing. That's right. And it made heaps of money. So just taking that time to get to know some sort of questions, and you might go, you know what, I'm going to go to this event tonight, or I'm going to go to my Christmas dinner, because, you know, Auntie Mary always asks me, how's my year been? What have you been doing? You've been dating anyone? You've been doing this? You've been going out? You can actually have a couple of questions of your own that you might just throw at your family, or throw out to a networking event that you use on every single person. It doesn't mean you've got to change every time you meet someone new. And it's just a way of you building a little bit of confidence with how you talk to people. So that's some examples there. And worst comes to worst, if you really get stuck and you sort of feel like the conversation's a bit stilted and you don't quite know what to say next, use one of these to start off the next question. Like, when did that happen? How did that happen? Who were you with? You know, how long did it go for? Just really simple sort of throw out questions. And it might also take the pressure off yourself. Active listening. Who here's told their kids, you don't listen to anything I say until I yell? Anyone? It's only until you yell that they actually take notice of what you're actually saying. And then they're like, oh, you don't have to yell at us. Like, well, I've been trying to tell you for the last 5 minutes. Okay, they're not actively listening to you because they're too busy on devices, or they're too busy doing something else. Unfortunately, that's the way of the world. But as an adult, we can control how we interact with people. And that means active listening. So, sounds easy enough. But how many times have you caught yourself in a conversation where you're sort of preempting the next thing that you want to say before they've actually even finished speaking? So does that mean you're listening, or does that mean you're just sort of waiting to respond? Okay, so there is a difference to these sorts of tools of the trade, I suppose, if that's what you want to call it. The first one, definitely a big one. Eliminate distractions. Who here, when they go out, has their phone on the table when they go out for dinner with friends? Hands up if you have. I know I have, sometimes. Yep. Does it upset you when someone picks up a phone while you're talking to them at a table? What does it make you feel like? Can someone tell me what they feel like? Disconnected? Insignificant? Devalued?
That you don't matter.
That you don't matter. That's right. And it's not a nice feeling, but I'm sure we've all probably been guilty of doing it. It's like, I just got to take this call. Do you really? Unless it's an emergency or a kid, something's happened, is it really that important that you have taken away time from someone who you have tried to reach out to connect with? So active listening means putting those distractions away, being somewhere. Like they have all those games and stuff now where you can put your phones into a box and you can lock it, and then the first person who gets it has to pay dinner or something like that. You don't have to go to those extremes, but the idea is that you're actually listening to what the person's saying. And that does take skill, because sometimes we're thinking about something else, or if your brain's really active about whatever the topic is, or you're really excited because you want to say something next, that you don't even realize that you're doing it and you're not actually really listening to that person. Or something stressing you out that's hitting you in the back of the head and it's just like eating at you, and that's what you're thinking about more than what the person in front of you is saying. So we're all guilty of it. It's just a matter of how we then deal with it to make sure we make the effort to really listen to that person who's talking. Non-verbal engagement. Now I know that, in the old days they'd say negative body language and whatever, if you had your arms crossed it meant that you weren't interested. Well, some people find that really comfortable, to stand like that. It doesn't actually mean that you're not interested. It could just be how that person is with their mannerisms. They could be supporting an injury that, they want to cross their arms to hold something. Whatever, it does not mean that that is there. However, if you are not looking at the person and you're sort of looking away over here, or you're continually looking at what's happening at the bar at the back or over here, then of course that's going to show that you're not really interested in what the person is saying in front of you. So you have to try to focus, and make sure that that person feels like you are connecting. Otherwise you'll get the same feelings as if you had a phone sitting there with you. Paraphrasing and summarizing. Sometimes if you've got a friend that's really going through something, or a business person who, just needs to download, sometimes they don't want you to fix something, but you could potentially just talk to them and say, okay, so this is what I'm getting from you. That, point A, B, and C, whatever. Is this right? Is this how you're feeling? It's showing them that you're actually listening to what they're saying. And that even though you may not be able to fix it, you can at least empathize for them and be going through it with them. You could also ask follow-up questions, just sort of, if someone said, I had a really shit day today, follow up with a question. So say, what's going on? Is it work? Is it outside of work? What's happening? Like, talk to me. And it may not even affect you at all. Like, if you can listen to something that someone says and it doesn't affect you and it bounces off, then that's great. You just have to be cautious of taking on someone else's energies, but you can also be there for their support at the same time without having to fix it for everyone. Avoid interrupting and practicing patience. So, if someone's on a bit of a rant, or if someone sort of wants to download and then you're like, oh, but I can tell you how to, and they're still going, just stop and let them finish. Okay, because if you're interrupting them, what are you actually doing?
Delaying things.
Delaying?
Not listening.
Not listening. If you're thinking about a solution or thinking of something that can fix whatever it is, or give them some advice, are you listening to the whole issue or point or whatever it might be that they're talking to you about? So just let them download, let them finish. That might be all they needed, and then they can go on their way. Like, I've had clients who've rung me up and gone, I don't have anyone else I can talk to, can I just download on you because I don't want to take it out on my staff? It's like, yeah, sure, just tell me your issues. And then they blah, 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 such and such did this, whatever. And then they're like, cool, okay. thanks, all right, talk to you later. You know, and that's all they needed, just someone that they could talk to and bounce off and then keep going on their way, because a lot of people in business are by themselves, or they're sole traders, or it's just them. And that's fine, but they don't have someone that they can talk to. So again, your trusted 5 is someone that you could ring up and go, hey, I just need to talk to someone and just get it off my chest, and then it's out of my head. Okay, we don't have to fix everyone's problems, but we can listen, and we can listen effectively. And you know, you can't solve everything, and that's cool. There's no issues with that at all. And I'm sure we've heard all this before, right? Active listening, talking. So as the lovely Simon Sinek says, there is a difference between listening and waiting for your turn to speak. And it's about that intelligence of understanding to give the other person that space and that comfort to know that you will listen to whatever they have to say. And it has to be productive. If it's gossip, well, then that's another matter. You know, relationships on gossip is not great. You want something that's deep and sort of meaningful, that's going to help each person, rather than talking about what happened yesterday at the Melbourne Cup. So when you are connecting and talking with someone, and this is going to be one of your next activities. So yes, we do have another activity with your pen and paper. The idea is just taking some things from what I've just sort of spoken about here to sort of see if you can see within yourself how you are as a person. You know, do you listen? Do you wait for someone to finish before you speak? Do you ask questions that are quite in depth? So it's a little bit of self-reflection as well as then trying to put it into practice. So when you're trying to connect and build rapport with someone, business-wise, personal, even family members, like I don't know about you guys, but my son's 21 and I'm finding if anything we're sort of going different ways because he's doing his own thing and we're not really connecting anymore. So I have to find a different way that I can build a relationship with him that's different. So how do I do that? So I've got to come back to this sort of stuff and try to figure out different ways. Like it's always evolving, no matter whether it's business or personal. So do we share personal experiences? Find shared goals and values? Do you surround yourself with people who have the same values as you? Do you want to be around people who are like this or like this or like that? Observe and compliment. Everybody loves a compliment. When's the last time you gave somebody a compliment? Or when was the last time you received a compliment and actually took it? Like accepted that compliment without brushing it off. And discuss current events or shared surroundings. It's okay for everyone to have different opinions about things. No one has to be 100% right. As long as we respect that opinion, then that's their life and they can do what they want. And as long as it doesn't impede on your life, then that's fine too. So it's about allowing people to be themselves because we're all different. And if we were all the same, then life would be boring. So, your activity is in small groups, within your table, potentially someone you haven't spoken to yet. Try to find 2 interests or facts about yourself and the person that you're talking to that will build that connection. So what is something that you and the other person might like or follow or whatever it might be? And then reflect on the people in your own network, and is that the reason that you sort of navigated towards them and have become that tribe or that team? Is it because of those values or is it because of something else? So we'll give you about 2 to 3 minutes to share with one person to try to find a couple of interests to see if you guys actually do have any other interests. Alright, did you find out something from someone else? Did you make a connection? Yes. Awesome. That's what this is about. So you can follow up on those connections later on. That's what we have that time for. The next thing that we need to do is once you make those connections, what should you do? You are then trying to nurture your network. Okay, so nurturing your network, you're trying to build trust and reliability. So are you going to do what you say you're going to do? That's the integrity that you bring to who you are, whether it's personal, professional, whatever. Are you there when you say you're going to be there, or do whatever it is that you're going to do? So you maintain communication. You know, it's like that meme that you see as an adult. Let's catch up. Yep, my calendar's free in like 2026. Okay, that's what it feels like half the time. Okay, value exchange. So, you know, if you're catching up with someone and they say, oh, this has just happened, blah, 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 blah. If you can contribute or make it that little bit next level or whatever, or you can help them out in some way, then do it. Because what are they going to gain from it? They're going to gain that trust in you as a person. Plus, it could be something that helps their business or whatever it is that they're looking for help for. You also gain respect. And then that person will talk about you in such a positive way to the rest of the people that they know down the track. And that's not something that's forced. That's something that's human nature. If you like someone, or if you think that what they do is amazing, what are you going to do? You're going to recommend that person, aren't you? Or talk to them, to someone else about, oh my God, I just met this lady and she does this, this and this. You really got to go see her. Awesome. And that's natural. That's not a forced connection. That's not you trying to build leads for your business. That's just from someone else who trusts you. Okay, so this is building your own team. You then would get recognition and appreciation. If you help someone in any sort of way, usually you would get some sort of thank you for it. You know, even just someone saying, thanks so much for that conversation. I really just needed to download. You know, thanks for being there. Just a little bit of time. That could be all that they want. So it's nurturing for them and for yourself as well. As the saying goes from Billy Cox, you will become like the 5 people you associate with the most. It can either be a blessing or a curse. I'm sure some of you might know people who've had their kids, or know people that have drifted off with the wrong crowd. So this is exactly that. Okay. Now this is the last little activity. You've got 2 minutes with this one. Oh, no, actually it's not the last activity. This one we'll do like 1 minute each, because we're slowly running out of time because I've spoken way too long. Person A has 2 minutes to describe a recent challenge. Person B might then offer a solution after summarising what they've heard. So without jumping in ahead going, oh, I know how I can fix that. Wait for them to finish and then give them a solution, and then vice versa. And then, or it could be something that you want to do. Then you can potentially catch up in a month's time and see if that's happened or not happened, or whatever the outcome is. So again, it's trying to make that connection with someone to then follow through with what you say you're going to do. So you have 1 minute each with your person to do this activity. Hey? Sorry?
We're ready.
You ready? Okay, moving on, thank you. With your booklet that you have there, please feel free to write down the person's name and number. If you need to get in contact with them, make a time that you can meet up, and make sure you follow through with that for next time. We are going to move on to the elephants in the room. Now this happens to everybody at some stage. It's definitely happened to me. How do we deal with it? Okay, everyone's been in situations where they've gone somewhere and they've felt really awkward, or they feel like it's just not working. So I jotted down some of the main sort of things that might come up for people when they go to networking events. So awkward conversations. If you find you're having an awkward conversation and you don't quite know how to get out of it, what do? You know, you just sort of stop talking and shrink away. Or for me, I usually find humor in a conversation and try to divert the conversation somewhere else. Or just make light of something so that it's not too deep, you know. And if you're nervous, you know, what sort of things can you do to help you strategy-wise when you go somewhere if you do feel nervous? Because we've all been there. As much as you think that everyone who stands up and does stuff or is super confident, I'm sure at some stage they always felt nervous. So set boundaries. So, you know, okay, I'm going to give myself 5 minutes when I go to this event to talk to at least 3 people. So each person 5 minutes, that's only 15 minutes, I can do this. Okay, so set it for yourself. And you know, if it ends up that you want to talk to them longer, well, talk to them longer. And if you feel like you need to back out earlier, then, I don't know, use going to the toilet as an excuse or something, whatever. Overwhelm. On the sunny coast, there are so many events to go to. It's crazy, right? So trying to figure out which ones you should go to, or do you go to all of them? And even family events and things outside. People might be part of gyms, or they might be part of walking groups or whatever. How do you choose what ones to go to that you're not going to feel burnt out and overwhelmed, and then you're not actually yourself when you go there? So pick the events that you feel are going to benefit you the most. And don't have FOMO. If you don't go to an event, it's okay. You know, it doesn't matter if you don't go. I remember once I rocked up to an event, I sat in the car and then I cried and I was like, I can't do this. And then I just went home, you know, so we all have those moments and it's okay. Fear of rejection is another big one. Like you go somewhere and you go and introduce yourself to someone and you just feel that they just don't care, you know, or you feel rejected. So how do we deal with that? Or what happens if someone comes up to you and you don't want to talk to them? Like, how do you make that person then feel if you don't want to meet up with them another time or something like that? So it's interesting about how you can sort of switch the roles around of how you would like to be treated if you sort of felt rejected versus how you would do it to someone else. I'm sure we've all been there at some stage. And it's okay to not connect with everyone. We don't have to be friends with everyone. Okay, you might want to be more industry specific and that's what you target, and that's totally fine. And you could also be lost for words. So if you don't quite know what questions you want to talk about or topics you know, to get yourself nervous, everyone has a phone, everyone's got a phone. Use your notes section, maybe jot down some ideas that are going to help you bring up a conversation, and it could just look like you're checking something without, you know, losing contact and actively listening. But to give yourself that confidence if you're not too sure of what you want to say, until you start to get the habit of implementing some of this stuff into what you do when you go networking. So everyone has been in a situation, and those newbies that are here tonight for networking, sometimes it gets easier and sometimes it doesn't. It's just knowing who you can talk to maybe help you through, or coming to these events with someone that you know to sort of be your wingman, you know, for networking. So, this last minute, I've got 1 minute left, is a bit of reflection for yourself. So you have the booklet. Reflect on a scenario where you have felt one of those elephant in the room situations. So what did you do? What could you do now to implement something to create a better outcome the next time you might feel one of those elephant in the rooms? And it might not be one that's listed there. It could be something else that you felt. So you've got 1 minute to just reflect on what you have done in a past situation and what you could potentially do next time. So 1 minute. This is quiet time. No talking. And for those of you that have written something, this here is more about building a bit of emotional intelligence. So is there more appreciation for how someone else might be feeling at a networking event? And what can you do to ease that person? And to finish off, I know this is a really long one, but I absolutely love this. I heard it the other day. So imagine waking up one day, looking in the mirror, and realizing that every time you choose comfort over discipline, you traded away the stronger, more powerful version of yourself. The version of you that could have been unstoppable. Every day you skip a chance to connect is another day closer to staying ordinary. Stuck in the same place while others are relentlessly chasing greatness. Someone out there right now is outworking you, outlasting you, becoming the person you could be. But they're getting ahead because you're, which is not spelled right, showing up. So just remember, the take home is be who you are wherever you go. Life is ups and downs. We're not perfect. Everyone's nervous. There's elephants in the room. And just go out there and have fun whenever you go out there. Enjoy. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
Let's give Christine another round of
Woo.
applause.
Thank you.
And Christine, I know before you go, I want you to come
Oh.
back. Come back.
Sorry.
So tell us a little bit about Imperium Corporate Services for those that want to connect with you.
Okay. Why, thank you. Okay, so Imperium Corporate Services is a business that helps other businesses. So we help you with a bookkeeping stream, a HR stream, and just like business consulting. So we help people set up Xero, we do Xero training, we do audits, we also do obviously bookkeeping, so anything from reconciling payroll, BAS, IS, everything behind the scenes that you don't want to do, because we know people are really busy and focusing on what they want to do best, and that's awesome. Then there's HR, so we help everything from onboarding through to termination or resignation, making sure you know how to talk to your employees in this day and age so that you don't get slapped with some sort of lawsuit, and how to let people go, how to be the most effective managers that you can be, and that your team is working towards your vision, because that's what you hire them for. And then business consulting, just that person that you can ring up, you go, I need to talk to someone, or bounce ideas off. That's what we're there for, and that's what we do. Thanks.